I found out my mom was sabotaging my marriage behind my back. I always thought betrayal would come from the outside. You know, like a coworker stealing credit for a project or a friend turning on you in a moment of weakness. But when it comes from your own blood, your own mother, and when it's wrapped so tightly in a disguise of love and concern, it doesn't feel like betrayal at first. It feels like suffocation. It feels like confusion. It feels like slowly being boiled alive without realizing you're in hot water. I'm not writing this for pity. I'm writing it because I need to get it out. I need to exorcise it from my bones. Let me start from the beginning. I met Eliza 7 years ago at a friend's Halloween party. I was dressed like a lazy version of Indiana Jones, jeans and a whip, and she was Cleopatra, with gold chains and glitter that clung to her skin like tiny stars. We locked eyes across a plastic punch bowl, and that was it. Cliché, I know, but we clicked immediately. Same weird humor, same taste in movies, same love of garlic bread and deep dive documentaries. We dated for 3 years and married in year 4. The wedding was small but perfect. Twinkle lights in her sister's backyard, some acoustic music, and 40 of our favorite people. Everyone said we looked like the couple from a rom-com. I still remember the way her smile crinkled when I said my vows, like she was trying not to cry. Everything was good. No, everything was great. Except for one thing. My mom, Diane, is complicated. She raised me alone after my dad bailed when I was 7, worked 2 jobs, gave up vacations, and made sure I had everything I needed. For a long time, she was my hero. But that love came with strings. She hovered. She intruded. She had an opinion about everything, from how I dressed, to how I spent money, to who I dated. Every girlfriend I had growing up was too much, or too plain, or not supportive enough. So when I brought Eliza around for the first time, I braced for impact. It went surprisingly well. Or so I thought. They talked about books. My mom complimented her hair. Eliza said my mom made the best lemon bars she'd ever had. I remember breathing a sigh of relief. That relief didn't last. It started small. Comments at dinner. Passive-aggressive little jabs. She's lovely, but she talks so much. Does she always talk over you like that? Or, I always pictured you with someone a little more calm. I laughed it off at first. Eliza brushed it aside. But those comments kept coming. After we got married, they started to shift. More pointed. More suspicious. You don't think she married you for security, do you? She doesn't even want kids, right? What kind of woman doesn't want a family? Or worse, the concerned tone. You're losing yourself in her, honey. I can see it. You used to have more spark. You're dimming. It wore on me. On us. But Eliza, bless her, tried. She invited my mom to brunches. She called her for advice on my birthday gifts. She even suggested we spend holidays at my mom's house, even though her own family lived closer and were way more relaxed. My mom would smile and nod and play nice to her face. But with me, she'd tear Eliza down slowly, like peeling paint off a wall. Never enough to accuse her outright, but always just enough to make me second guess. She forgot your doctor's appointment? That's a red flag, babe. You seem stressed lately. Is it her? Be honest. You know you can tell me anything. And I did. That's the part one hate the most. I talked to my mom. I let her in. I vented about arguments Eliza and I had. I confided things a husband shouldn't share. I thought I was just seeking comfort, but I didn't realize I was arming a grenade. By year 2 of our marriage, the cracks started to show. Not big ones, nothing explosive. Just quiet tension. Eliza grew colder toward my mom. She stopped initiating visits. I started getting more defensive, accusing her of not trying hard enough with my family. She pushed back, telling me my mom was too involved in our marriage. Do you not see how she manipulates you? She asked one night, sitting cross-legged on the couch. She wants to be the only woman in your life. It's creepy. I exploded. Don't talk about my mom like that. She's trying. She's always been there for me. Eliza didn't argue. She just looked tired. Not angry, just defeated. That was worse than yelling. She got up, said she was going to bed, and didn't kiss me goodnight. I remember lying awake that night thinking, what if she's right? But then the guilt hit. My mom gave up everything for me. Surely she didn't mean harm. She was just protective. She was just worried. Wasn't she? The real spiral began a few months later. I started noticing weird patterns. Misunderstandings that didn't make sense. Eliza swore she told me about a work trip. I had no memory of it. She said she called me during lunch. I had no missed calls. My mom, every eager ear, would confirm my doubts. She seems distracted lately. Maybe she's hiding something. Don't let her gaslight you, baby. You're smarter than that. I didn't realize it at the time, but my mom was planting seeds. One day, I found an old photo frame broken on the floor. It had a picture of Eliza and me from our honeymoon. It was one of our favorites. Eliza swore she'd knock it over, but I didn't believe her. Why would I? Things had been weird lately. Distant. Off. Later that week, my mom brought it up before I even mentioned it. So sad about that honeymoon photo. I love that one. I froze. How did you know about that? She smiled, sipped her tea. Oh, you mentioned on the phone the other night, didn't you? No, I hadn't. At least, I didn't think I had. Looking back, I feel like an idiot. But at the time, I was in the fog. And when you're in the fog, you don't know you're blind. Then came the messages. One night, while Eliza was out for dinner with her coworkers, I got a message from an unknown number. No name, just a few screenshots. One showed a chat log that looked like it was between Eliza and some guy named Chris. Another showed a photo of them at a bar, sitting close, too close. The texts were flirty, suggestive, not damning, but enough to light a fire in my chest. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to think. I confronted her the moment she walked in the door. She looked stunned, hurt, then furious. You think I'm cheating on you? That's Chris from my office. He's gay, Leo. He's married to a guy named Brian. She pulled up his Instagram. There were dozens of pictures of Chris and Brian, at pride marches, at brunches, on vacation. Eliza stared at me like I was a stranger. Who sent you that? I showed her the number. She tried calling it. It was disconnected. Burner. Untraceable. But her eyes said it all. You don't trust me. And the worst part? I didn't. We barely spoke for 2 days. I slept on the couch. She buried herself in work. When we finally sat down to talk, her words gutted me. I love you, Leo, but I can't keep doing this. I can't fight you and your mother. I opened my mouth to argue, but I didn't. I couldn't, because a part of me was starting to realize she was right. I started thinking about all the weird little things. The frame, the text, my mom's perfectly timed concerns. How she always knew just when to stoke the fire, always had the right words to make me doubt. And suddenly, everything clicked. That weekend, Eliza went to stay with her sister. We needed space, she said. I stayed home and went through old voicemails, old messages. I don't know what I was looking for. Proof, maybe. Something solid. What I found broke me. One of the voicemails from my mom, saved accidentally to a folder I never checked, was from 2 months ago. Her voice was quiet, like she thought someone might hear her. Hi, this is Diane. I know you're married to my son, but I need to be honest with you. He's not happy. He talks about leaving. You should let him go. It'll be easier for both of you. My stomach dropped. My mouth went dry. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to Eliza. She had called her directly and lied. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I texted Eliza and asked her to meet me at a cafe near her sister's place. When she arrived, I played the voicemail. She sat in silence, her hands shaking. I knew it, she whispered. I knew she was trying to break us. I started crying. Right there, in the middle of the cafe. I hadn't cried since my dog died when I was a teenager. I'm sorry, I said. I should have seen it. Eliza didn't say anything for a long time. Then she looked at me and said, You want to see it. That was the moment our marriage hit the edge of the cliff. And it was also the moment I decided I needed to confront my mom. Because this wasn't just about her interfering. It was betrayal. Calculated, cruel betrayal. I always thought betrayal would feel like a punch to the chest. Sudden, sharp. But the truth is, it's more like drowning in shallow water, 1 inch at a time. You tell yourself you're imagining it, that everything's fine, until it's not. After I played the voicemail for Eliza, I thought we might start healing. I thought exposing my mom's manipulation would bring us closer. But I underestimated how deep the wounds already ran, and how badly I'd failed to protect my marriage from the one person who was supposed to protect me. We left the cafe in silence. I offered to drive her back to her sister's place, but she declined. I need time, she said. Just figure out what you want, Leo. I don't even know if you see what she did to us. I wanted to scream, of course I see it. But did I? Or was I still trying to justify it? Still clinging to some broken version of she meant well? That night, I sat in our apartment, our too quiet, half-empty apartment, and looked around the ruins of what had once been a happy home. Eliza's slippers were still by the couch. Her favorite mug sat in the sink. The little framed photo of us from our first anniversary, still intact, was tucked on the shelf. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I dug. I pulled up months' worth of phone logs, old voicemails, even texts I deleted. And the more I looked, the more I realized how carefully my mom had orchestrated the entire breakdown of our marriage. There were dozens of calls between her and Eliza, many more than I ever knew about. Some of them were from as far back as our engagement. I remembered Eliza mentioning that my mom was calling a lot, but I brushed it off at the time. They're just bonding, I told myself. Isn't that what I wanted? One message stood out. It was a text my mom had sent Eliza, dated 4 months before the honeymoon photo incident. You seem overwhelmed. If you're not happy, it's okay to walk away. Leo deserves someone who really sees him. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Another message. He's not himself lately. If it's not working, don't force it. Maybe it's better if he's with someone who fits him more naturally. Every word was disguised as care, gentle suggestions, light concern. But the implication was loud and clear. Leave him. You're not right for him. You're the problem. And the worst part? She sent some of those texts while sitting at our dinner table, in our home, smiling at me like everything was fine. I confronted her 2 days later. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up at her house, the same small 2-bedroom she lived in since I was a teenager. I walked her with my phone in one hand and 3 years of buried anger in the other. She opened the door in her robe, sipping tea like she hadn't spent the last few years slowly detonating my life. Leo, what a surprise. I didn't smile. I didn't hug her. I stepped inside and said, "We need to talk. Now." Her face shifted, just for a second, a flicker of nerves. Then, like always, she smoothed it over with that same maternal smile. "Of course. Sit. Do you want some tea?" "Cut the act, Mom." That got her. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. I played the voicemail. Watched her face. No shock. No denial. Just a long pause and sigh. "Okay," she said. "I see where this is going." "No, you don't. Because I'm not here to play detective. I know what you did. I know about the texts, the calls, the lies. I know, Mom." She sat down slowly. Still no apology. Just this weird, serene look, like she was watching a slow car crash from a safe distance. "I was trying to help you, Leo. You don't see how toxic she is. She was changing you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You manipulated her. You told her to leave me." I told her the truth. "You weren't happy. You don't get to decide that." "I do when you're too blind to see it for yourself." That was when I snapped. "You ruined my marriage." Her voice rose for the first time. "No, she did that when she stopped putting you first. When she started treating you like you were some accessory instead of a partner. You don't even know her." "I know enough. I know you stopped laughing like you used to. You stopped calling me as much. You started drifting, Leo, and I won't apologize for trying to pull you back. It wasn't even about Eliza, I realized. It was about control. My mom couldn't stand the fact that I had chosen someone else, that my attention, my loyalty had shifted. In her eyes, Eliza was an intruder, and she dealt with intruders like poison. I left without saying another word. The days that followed were a blur. I tried calling Eliza. She answered once but didn't say much. Just that she needed time to think, that she was staying at her sister's for now. I told her I understood, but I didn't. Not really. I was desperate to fix things, but I knew I couldn't rush her. Trust doesn't regrow overnight, especially not when it's been eroded for years. The guilt was crushing. Because here's the thing, even if my mom was the architect of the sabotage, I was the one who handed her the blueprints. I told her things I shouldn't have. I let her voice guide my doubts. I didn't protect Eliza. I didn't protect us. And now, I didn't know if there was still an us left to fight for. About a week after confrontation, Eliza agreed to meet again. Neutral ground. Another cafe, different neighborhood. She looked tired. Not broken, but worn down. There was a quiet in her eyes that I'd never seen before, a kind of emotional exhaustion that words can't fix. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, "about everything, about us, about how we got here." I nodded, waiting for the hammer to drop. "I don't think I can come back, not yet." My throat tightened. She took a deep breath. This wasn't just your mom's fault. You didn't believe me. Over and over again, I tried to tell you something was wrong, and you gaslit me. I didn't mean to. I know, but it still hurt. We sat in silence for a long time. Then she asked the question I'd been dreading. Do you still talk to her? I shook my head. Not since the confrontation. Do you plan to? That was the question I hadn't let myself answer yet. I still love my mom. Or maybe I love the idea of her, the version that raised me, supported me, made sacrifices. But the version I had now, the one who lied, manipulated, and violated every boundary I thought existed? I don't know. I said honestly. Part of me wants to forgive her, but another part of me doesn't think I can. Eliza nodded. Then I need time, space. If there's any chance for us, you need to figure that out first. Because I won't compete with her. I won't. I understood. For once, I really did. Over the next few weeks, I tried therapy. Alone at first. Then couple sessions, when Eliza was willing. It wasn't easy. Every session felt like peeling back another layer of shame and confusion. But it helped. It helped me see how much of my life had been shaped around keeping the peace with my mom, even at my own expense. My therapist asked me something that hit me like a brick. What would happen if your mom wasn't proud of you anymore? Would you still be okay? I didn't know how to answer, because so much of me had been built around making her happy, avoiding her disapproval, chasing her praise like a drug. And Eliza had threatened that balance, just by being in my life. Not because she was demanding, not because she was difficult, but because she asked me to stand beside her, not between her and my mom. And I failed her. One night, weeks later, I got a letter, an actual handwritten letter, from my mom. Leo, I'm sorry if I hurt you. That was never my intention. I see now that I may have overstepped. I just wanted what was best for you. I still do, but I can't apologize for loving you too much. Maybe I should have handled things differently, but I did it out of concern. If you're happier without me in your life, I'll respect that. Just know that I'll always be here. Love, Mom. It was carefully written, measured, safe, but there were no real apologies. No admission of what she actually did. It read like someone trying to save face, not someone trying to rebuild trust. I didn't respond. Not yet. Eliza and I are still in limbo. We talk. Sometimes we laugh. Sometimes we cry. We're trying in our own slow, fragile way. But the truth is, I don't know where we're headed. Maybe we'll find our way back. Maybe we won't. But for the first time in my life, I'm learning to stand on my own, without needing my mom's approval, without letting guilt decide my boundaries, without mistaking control for love. For weeks, I walked through life with the quiet weight of someone grieving something still alive. Eliza and I weren't over, but we weren't together either. I wasn't sure what we were. We messaged sometimes, short updates, therapy reflections, occasional dry joke, but the warmth was gone. Everything felt paused, like she was waiting to see if I'd actually change or just promise to. As for my mom, I hadn't spoken to her since the letter. That was deliberate. I wasn't ready. Not because I didn't know what I wanted to say, but because deep down I knew once I said it, there'd be no coming back. A week after her letter, she left a pie on my doorstep. It was the same pie she used to make when I was a kid and had a bad day at school. Apple cinnamon with that ugly little smiley face carved into crust. She didn't ring the doorbell or text, just left it there with a note that said, "Still your mom. Still love you." That's the thing with emotional manipulation. It doesn't always show up as shouting or cruelty. Sometimes it looks like warm pie and quiet guilt. Sometimes it smells like home. But I didn't bring it inside. I left it there overnight. It rained that evening. By morning, the crust was soggy. The filling had leaked out onto box, and ants were swarming around it like they sensed the rot inside. It felt poetic. It took another full month before I agreed to see her again. My therapist said I didn't owe her anything. Not a conversation, not forgiveness, not closure. But I wanted to face her. For myself, to make sure she saw the cost of what she did, not just to me, but to Eliza, to our future, to my ability to trust the people I love. I texted her, dinner, Saturday, neutral place. She agreed immediately, too quickly, like she'd been waiting. We met at some little Italian restaurant near her neighborhood. One I picked because it was public, quiet, and not emotionally loaded. No memories there, no ghosts, just pasta and low lighting. When I arrived, she was already seated, her hair done, makeup carefully applied. She smiled like nothing had happened. "Hi, sweetheart." I didn't smile back, just sat down and said, "Let's not pretend this is normal." Her smile twitched but held. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's not." We ordered food. Or rather, I did. She just got tea. Then we sat there in awkward silence until I finally broke it. "You almost destroyed my marriage." She blinked. "I never meant to." "But you did. You interfered, manipulated, lied. You told my wife she should leave me. You sent fake evidence in the affair." Her lips parted. "Wait. What do you mean? You don't get to play dumb." She leaned back, clearly rattled. "I didn't send anything like that, Leo. I swear on my life. I never fabricated anything. I wouldn't even know how." That gave me pause. I had assumed it was her. Who else would have the motive? Then who else would have sent it? I asked. "I don't know." But I didn't. It was the first moment I felt genuine confusion. Her voice didn't have that performative tilt she sometimes used. It sounded raw, off guard. So if she didn't send those messages, who did? I shelved that question for the moment. "I don't care if you sent them or not," I said. "You planted doubt. You push her away. You cross lines." She sighed, brushing her fingers along the rim of her cup. "You were slipping away from me." "That's the point, Mom. You're not supposed to own me. I got married. You were supposed to be happy." I was, she snapped before softening. "But Eliza, she wasn't like us. She didn't include me in things. She didn't ask for my opinion. She didn't seem to need me. She didn't need you because she wasn't your daughter. She was my partner. You should have respected that." Her eyes watered. "I was scared, Leo. After everything I gave up for you, after all those years, I thought I'd have a place in your life forever." "You do, but not like that." She nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheek. "I know," she said. "I think part of me always knew, but it hurt more than I thought it would." I sat in silence, letting her grief wash over me, letting mine bubble just under the surface. Because in that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was a funeral for the relationship we used to have. I asked her one more question before we parted ways. "If you could go back and undo it, would you?" She didn't answer right away. That scared me. Finally, she said, "I'd undo the pain, but not the truth. I still don't think she was right for you." And that told me everything I needed to know. That night, I sat on my balcony, staring out at the city lights. I texted Eliza, met with my mom. Think we both got the closure we needed. She's not going to change. But I am. She replied an hour later. "Good. Proud of you." That meant more than she probably realized. 2 days later, I got another message from an unknown number. This one wasn't a threat or a trap. It was a confession. "Hi. I don't know if you remember me. I used to work with Eliza. Chris, I'm the one who sent the screenshots. It was stupid. I was angry. I thought she was flirting with my ex. She wasn't. I'm so sorry." My jaw clenched. All this time, I thought my mom had orchestrated the fake cheating scandal. But it wasn't her. It was him, some jealous co-worker who misunderstood a conversation and decided to torture marriage out of pettiness. I forwarded the message to Eliza. No words, just a screenshot. She didn't reply right away. Then finally, "Wow, I don't even know what to say." I did. I said, "You were right. I'm sorry it took me this long." She responded a few minutes later. "Thank you. We met that weekend. Not to fix everything. Not yet, but to start something new. A relationship where I listened without filter, where my loyalty wasn't divided, where I drew boundaries and actually enforced them. We talked about rebuilding, about maybe moving to a new place, away from the shadows of the past, about a marriage rooted in us, not anyone else's expectations. There were still scars, but we were willing to try. As for my mom, we speak sometimes. Texts, birthday calls, distant but polite. We'll never go back to how things were. I don't think I want that. I love her. I do. But I no longer confuse guilt with obligation, or proximity with closeness. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is stop letting them hurt you. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away, even from someone who gave you everything. Healing doesn't come all at once. It doesn't arrive in grand declarations or dramatic apologies. It shows up in the quiet moments, when you don't flinch at a memory, when a familiar name doesn't make your chest tighten, when you stop rehearsing the perfect thing you should have said in the argument that ended everything. That's what the months after the confrontation felt like. Quiet, uneven, but slowly, gently, Eliza and I began to rebuild something from a wreckage. We didn't jump back into old routines. We didn't pretend everything was fine. We moved carefully, like people walking barefoot across broken glass, trying not to reopen wounds that had only just begun to close. And maybe that's what saved us. The first real breakthrough happened one night in early spring. We'd gone for a long walk through a park near her sister's place. It was warm but breezy, and the city felt softer somehow, like it had finally stopped holding its breath. We were sitting on a bench, sharing a thermos of coffee, when she said, "You know what the worst part was?" I didn't speak. I just let her say it. "It wasn't your mom. It was you not seeing me." I looked at her, hard in my throat. I kept thinking, if I could just prove I wasn't the enemy, maybe you'd choose me. But you already had. You just didn't know it. She shook her head. You let her live in our walls like a ghost. Every decision had to pass through her, even if you didn't realize it. I was exhausted. I nodded, throat tight. "I'm sorry," I said. "I thought I was being a good son. I didn't know I was being a bad husband." That was the first time in months I saw something soften in her expression. Not forgiveness, exactly, but the space where forgiveness could grow. We started therapy together again. This time, not to salvage a marriage, but to build one from the ground up. A marriage with walls that couldn't be breached by guilt or family, or old roles we were too afraid to outgrow. One of the hardest exercises was writing a trust contract. It was exactly what it sounded like, a document listing what we each needed to feel safe again. Not just promises, but terms, boundaries, non-negotiables, mine included. I will not discuss our relationship with my mother without your consent. I will recognize emotional manipulation, even if it's wrapped in affection. I will choose us first, hers included. I need full transparency. No, I didn't want to upset you. Excuses. I need time and space to feel safe with your family again, or not at all. I need your loyalty without me having to earn it over and over again. We both signed it. It sounds clinical, I know, but after years of emotional fog, it felt good to make something clear, something binding. Eventually, we moved. Not far, but just far enough. A new apartment on the other side of the city. Smaller, cozier, no memories soaked into floorboards. Eliza picked out the curtains. I hung the photos. We reframed the honeymoon picture, the one my mom had commented on like a psychic. But we did print new ones from the in-between days, the let's try again days. We even got a dog. Her name's Willow. She's a disaster and a joy, clumsy, loud, always hungry. But she makes us laugh again, and that alone feels like a kind of miracle. As for my mom, I kept my distance. The occasional birthday message. A call at Christmas. Polite, brief, surface level. I didn't bring Eliza around. I didn't send photos. I didn't give her any more pieces of my life she could twist. She noticed, of course. Called once in March to ask if I was still punishing her. I told her the truth. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. She cried, said she missed me, said she missed us. But when I asked if she ever thought about what she did, if she'd ever truly sat with the harm she caused, she deflected, said she was just trying to help. Said I chose a woman over my own mother. That was the last time we spoke. I think grief can take strange forms. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet and slow, like watching snow cover the outline of something you used to recognize. That's what losing the version of my mom I once adored felt like. But I don't regret it, because loving someone doesn't mean handing them the keys to your life without conditions. And being loved doesn't mean owning someone in return. My mother didn't understand that. Maybe she never will. But I do now. A year after everything fell apart, Eliza and I went back to the beach town where we spent our first anniversary. It was chilly, the off-season, mostly empty except for a few locals and one overeager seagull who kept trying to steal our fries. We walked along the shore, hands brushing, not gripping, not desperate, just there. At one point, I looked over and said, "Are we okay?" She didn't answer immediately, just looked out at the water, the horizon pale and glowing. Then she nodded. "We're getting there." And for the first time in a long, long time, I believed her. If someone had told me 2 years ago that the person who raised me, the person who shaped so much of my world, would someday become the source of such profound pain, I wouldn't have believed them. But family doesn't guarantee safety, and love doesn't excuse harm. What I learned, what I earned through all of this, is that loyalty must be mutual. That love must be active. That trust must be protected like it's sacred. Because it is. Eliza and I still have our ups and downs. We're not some fairy tale couple that conquered all. But we're real, and we're honest, and we choose each other every day. That's more than enough. As for my mom, I hope she's okay. I hope she finds someone to love without needing to control them. But that's not my job anymore.